coming my way. Hundreds of blessings, they coming my way. Hundreds of blessings, they coming my way. Hundreds of blessings, they coming my way. Like I got a new perspective. I don't mean to be so reckless, but I know my God's protecting. I talk to him before my set list. Got so many things on my mind, there's so much to forget about. Thank God he's the author of time, I don't stress, it's in him I dwell. The flesh doesn't want it sometimes, so I just gotta push it down. I've been saved with too many dang time, got surround me like Citadel. Feeling like $1 million, baby, you can't talk to me crazy. I'm a princess daughter of the king. I know when these folks tryna play me, devil almost had me.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Astrologiks, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I'm going to be discussing the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. This is a north node eclipse happening on September 17th at 25 degrees. Now, the North Node is still in Aries until January 11th, so we will have an activation of this around that time. And I don't really think we're going to see the full benefits of this eclipse until 6 months later. Just to be clear, you'll probably get more information about how this is playing out for you when we do the weekly astrology. And the moon is in Pisces specifically, which is just another reason to also watch the weekly, because as unimportant as they may seem, it really breaks things down between each full moon as it goes through the moon cycles every month. And it helps build a story for you to get a better understanding on how to manifest with the full and new moon energies. And so, just to keep that in mind, the North Node is our collective destiny. And so we're all going to feel this in some way. Everybody has Pisces somewhere in their chart. And this is where the houses become super important when you're doing astrology, not necessarily when you're doing full and new moons. The houses are not as important. It's just where the energy, what sign the energy is in. But for you specifically, personally, whatever house it's in adds an additional layer to whatever this may be for you. I did do the monthly horoscopes. So if you want more information on that, you can check those out to see. But North nodes are about new beginnings, but Pisces is about endings. Full moons are about endings and completions. Eclipses are faded endings and beginnings. And this Pisces eclipse is kind of giving us a glimpse into the future and what to expect. Another interesting fact about this, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I don't think there's any new moons during this eclipse season for the Pisces eclipse. They're all full moons. So this is really trying to help us clear out what no longer serves us, to kind of get the full effects of whatever the North Node in Aries has been trying to teach us over the last year and a half. And Aries is what degrees 25 degrees is. So there are a lot of other implications here about learning who you are and kind of going through some change and transformation about being you, being authentically who you are. This Pisces eclipse will sextile Uranus, which is what I'm going to focus on. But essentially, I mean, this specific eclipse is touching every single outer planet. Um, and so, I mean, there's a lot going on, but I feel like that's just a deeper implication of like letting go of the past, who you used to be, what you no longer identify with. That's going to be a huge, huge theme, uh, because we have Neptune moving into Aries, and this whole lunar eclipse is Aries, 25 degrees, Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and it'll be in Aries for the next, what is it, 6 years, happening in 2025. Then we've had Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is all about being mature, responsible, owning up to your BS, if you will. Um, and um, there's just a lot of implications here about, taking responsibility for your own actions, taking responsibility for the reasons why your life is the way that it is, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It's just like, where do you want to be? Pisces is about dreaming, dreaming big, and making those things a reality. What's holding you back from doing that? I also think this gives us like a sneak peek into the ability of learning how things happen over time and being okay with that, not trying to keep up with the Joneses or impress people in the moment. It's like, there's no rush, right? Things happen day by day. And as long as you're doing the work and you're being responsible for that, whatever else happens in between is a part of the process, and trusting that process, and not going out of your way to make it seem like something that it's not, right? Those are going to be really, really, really huge themes, I think. Um, yeah, I think from an esoteric point of view, this is very spiritual. Um, I feel like I can say so much more about that, but I feel like I put some things in here where I can talk a little bit more about it. So I'll leave it at that. But being realistic about Pisces energy, I think is probably going to be the hardest thing. And so being practical, Pisces can be very airy fairy and unrealistic, but what's the spiritual implications or the esoteric implications of that is going to be very important. And I'll talk more about that. And so you want to think back to 2025. That's the last time we had a Pisces lunar eclipse, and what was happening for you. It doesn't necessarily mean those things will happen again, or they won't happen in the same way. But there could be also a continuation of whatever you was working on that unfolds during this time. I think you can also get more information if you think back 6 months to the Pisces new moon, which I believe was in January. Don't quote me on that. What was 6 months from now? Whatever that was. And I always put the video from the last new or full moon at the top of my page if you want to go back and listen to what that was. And yeah, so that'll just help you get more information about how this is going to be playing out for you. Mutable signs will feel this the most, even though, again, everybody has Pisces somewhere in their chart. Um, Mutable signs will feel this the most, which is Gemini, Sag, Pisces, and I believe Virgo. But don't quote me on the Virgo one. But you can easily go and look those things up. Um, And so we have to look at the moon, obviously. It's going to be a lot stronger here. It is a partial lunar eclipse, and so it's not as strong as a full eclipse, but nonetheless, it's an eclipse. And so it is going to be powerful in its own right, just because there are so many continuing themes, if you will. But we won't feel it as strongly. And I also think, not that we won't feel it as strongly, it'll be a soft push to whatever this is for you. Because Pisces is it's sensitive. Moon energy is sensitive. Mutable energy is all about being flexible, movable. Um, yeah. So the moon is the subconscious, our emotions, our home, family, property, the past, our roots, um, our ancestral line, our bloodline, where we come from, our homeland. There could be a lot going on here in America for sure, which I feel like one isn't there, but we can be extremely intuitive at this time. I think things are going to be illuminated that we didn't see before, things that we didn't want to see. Um, Also get a sense of like being grateful, uh, or that we get some kind of blessing, or soul messages. Again, learning how to trust our intuition and whatever's coming in is right on time. I do think we're going to be more susceptible, just because a lot of this stuff like Saturn's been in um, Pisces for a while. This is not brand new. Neptune has been in Pisces for a while. It's not brand new. And so Pisces energy has been invading our space and energy for a while now. And so I feel like there will be more highlights. Again, I feel like it's a softer nudge or push or lesson or, reality check than harsher than like most energy might be. Um, this could be showing us what we deny, what we've been hiding. The sun is going to oppose the sun in Virgo, which is highlighting our skills that we've developed, life experiences, um, and solutions will be presented on those things and where we can move them and use them in different kinds of ways. So definitely a lot of job changes. It's Virgo, health changes, daily routine changes. I don't know about anybody else, but I've already been experiencing a lot of this. Like things are changing. It's like change is inevitable, good or bad. I think it's going to be the making it a habit or getting used to it that's going to be the hardest part when we're talking about Pisces energy. We do have support from Mars being in Cancer, and we'll have more time to learn those lessons or take action towards these changes, which is supportive. I like that. Even throughout Scorpio season, as doomsday Scorpio energy can be on its lower expression, I feel like um, we're going to get support throughout this time more than, again, anything else. Um, and then again, the 25 degrees is an Aries degree, which is like our spiritual warriors being assertive, passionate, and goal oriented, taking the lead in something, being a leader. Um, you know, um, this could even be things about the body or sports, something that keeps us active and motivated. This could even be things like, asking ourselves what makes us get up in the morning, and be happy about doing that for freaking 8 or 9 hours a day. and really assessing that in our head and making sure that we do whatever it takes to get to whatever that is for you, whatever goal that is. It could be very goal oriented. I do think we'll get a lot of like new spiritual leaders or just spiritual leaders in general having some kind of new revelation on how to do things, how to help people, how to be supportive, um, how to be a leader. And then just leaders in general doesn't necessarily just have to be spiritual. Although I do think the spiritual realm, because it's Pisces, will grow tremendously during this time, new or not new. It'll be the new fad, if you will, the new popular thing to do, um, in healing, and taking initiative or action towards that, or being assertive about it, like taking it seriously. And this could even be things like karate, Tai Chi, um, yeah, or like learning how to protect yourself in whatever way that is, especially with Mars and Cancer, learning how to protect your family. Um, or I should say, learning how to, Aries would be like more like learning how to defend yourself. Mars and Cancer is learning how to protect your family, um, standing up for yourself, standing up for others who can't stand up for themselves. That's also going to be a really big theme with this Pisces eclipse. Um, and we also have to look at Jupiter. So Jupiter is the ancient ruler to Pisces, and so that's currently in Gemini and will be there until next year, right around the time that this happens again. Um, and it'll be moving into Cancer. So big themes here about family roots and where we come from, homeland, um, are going to be really, really huge Cancerian themes. But essentially, with Gemini, with Jupiter and Gemini, this is about your identity, claiming who you are, maybe even perhaps doing some uh, reflecting on what did you really want to be when you were young, right? Gemini is childhood education, your environment as a child. What did you learn from your environment as a child? And how did that form who you are today? Is it still resonating with you? Is there some things you have to heal from or let go of to get to the truer meaning to who you want to be moving forward? And even taking the steps and doing that, doing some writing, learning, studying, working under somebody. This could also have to do with promoting and marketing for whatever it is that you're doing, public speaking, having debates and bigger conversations around what's happening. It could be Um, yeah, I feel like it's very family oriented, or how to separate yourself from your family. What's your identity without your siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews? What's your identity without being influenced by education, knowledge, and the things that you've learned from your environment, or even society? Or your experiences, how have they formed you in ways, and what new experiences are you going to be having to create this new individual that you are breaking into, even breaking away from, however you want to kind of think about it, is it's entirely up to you, but uh, a lot of change here. Mutable energy is malleable. It's almost as if it's cleaning the slate clean so that you can fill it in with new experiences, new knowledge, new education, new spiritual practices, new beliefs, new philosophies. And, on the world stage, it's laws and legislations, um, and things of that nature. Um, and so it's going to conjunct Saturn. I really didn't want to spend too much time on this because we've been talking about this literally all summer, but specific to the Pisces eclipse, conjunct Saturn in Pisces is feeling closed in. And then Neptune is like spiritual signs, symbols and synchronicities, awakenings. Um, I call them breadcrumbs, whether it's through some kind of dream or experience or sign symbols, synchronicity, or just spending time alone. What are you conjuring? What's coming up for you? Maybe you need to let go of television. This could also be the Jupiter Gemini implication is, you know, what did you learn from watching movies, television, commercials, the subconscious minds and the effects that it has on the decisions that we make on a regular basis, and letting that stuff go, clearing that stuff out, and releasing that. I think this can be supportive when we have Scorpio season. This is going to be massive. Uh, what do you call it when you go through your dark night of the soul? That's, the precipice of Scorpio energy. And I think this is going to be so deep. And that Pisces energy is really going to help us fall into going through that process of awakening, opening up your third eye, changing habits, even if you don't want to or you're not even trying to. These things are going to happen. You're going to be so susceptible to whatever influences the planets are having on you. It's not even going to be funny, but I think it's going to be dope. Like, I think there's a real opportunity for change here. Um, but it can feel like you don't have any freedom. How to work through grief and loss and repressed memories and, emotional security or lack thereof, through some kind of spiritual practice, working through codependency. This could be, again, helping others. It's going to have a lot to do with the leaders that are out there with the abilities, knowledge, tools to help people get through these types of things. But essentially, it's like becoming a minimalist, doing a lot of crying. Again, job changes, communication issues, not being able to deal with reality, or not being able to deal with the fact that the truth is hard to find, with Pisces energy. Hell, even through Scorpio season, but I think with Scorpio season being in Capricorn, it could be stronger, but a lot more detrimental, unfortunately. But whether we like it or not, that is the process of the dark night of the soul. So, you might make some really bad decisions, but it leads you down this path of like seeing things on the other side or in a different way. That can be quite profound. And you then get to teach it, or you become, somebody who has an experience and you could tell a story, you know, um, that I think would be, helpful, like having a near death experience and telling people what it's like on the other side, or going to prison and being able to talk about what that experience is like and how different it is. It's crazy how that's a world within inside a world. It's bonkers. Um, but this could also be um, drinking, drugging to escape from the things that you feel like you're not getting, but want to find. It would be highly beneficial to get some kind of counseling during this time because things can seem uh, can look at one way and you be completely off, um, and you want to make sure you're not making up things that aren't real. It's very important to stay grounded in whatever that is for you. And that can include, again, counseling and I don't even want to say and or. I think, when you're talking about manifesting and having the ability to manifest, if you're only doing one part of it and then realizing why aren't my manifestations coming true? It's not always just because it takes time. Sometimes it's also because there's more work that you need to do that you might feel like you don't when it's all encompassing. There is no one way to do it. I can mention three different topics separately and have their own benefits and lack thereof, but they all work together in helping you be able to manifest the reality that you want. Um, and so I think there's going to be a lot of people who have a hard time with that because some things aren't easy. Like I talk about, especially whenever I talk about Pisces energy, I say, um, meditation is not just the ideation that they have out there of somebody sitting with their legs crossed and being able to sit in silence like that. There are multiple different ways to meditate, but when you're influenced by that depiction of what meditation is that's out there and they're not telling you the other ways, you could start to feel like, I'm never going to be able to do that. So why bother with it, right? And I'm just using meditation as an example. I promise you, this could be any other area in your life that you feel like is something you don't need, but it's a part of the process. So when you deny that you don't need it because you're either one, incapable of doing it or don't feel confident that you can do it, or you're not doing the research enough to know that there's always more than one way to skin a cat, right? And so, you know, be know that you're blocking your own blessings in that way or your own manifestations, and that's something that you have to take responsibility for. I think that can be a hard truth for people, but not hard because it's good or it's bad, just a lack of knowledge and education. So use this Jupiter and Gemini energy to educate yourself, even if it's just a small course or a class. I feel like when we think of college, it becomes more daunting, right? Because time is of essence. And to learn something, you know, from the Jupiter perspective, college is 4 to 5 years, and who the fuck has all that time to do that? Which, by the way, it's all relative. It just depends on how you look at it. But what I will say is that Jupiter and Gemini gives that um, idea to the people who might not have, long attention spans. Their attentions are a lot shorter, where you can take a shorter class or a weekend class, or, there are all different kinds of forms of short-term education. But I also highly advise you go to like a library and have a conversation with a librarian. Just talk to her and tell her what it is you're trying to figure out and understand. And she will give you like 1,001 books. The experiences, well, maybe it's just me because I'm a nerd, but it's absolutely phenomenal to experience. So, um, yeah. And so then this full moon will sextile Uranus and Taurus, which I think is going to be probably one of the most exhilarating awakening experiences you've ever had, because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And I feel like it's electric. It could really be like something that happens out of the blue. You might not even know in the moment that you are having a dope ass experience until after the fact. You'll be like, yo, did that just happen? Like, it's almost as if you God has come down here to save us, even though I don't think that's a real thing. But it's happening within you or through you. And you have these like wild experiences that are like once in a lifetime type of things, sudden changes, unexpected events that just blow your mind. Um, on the other side of that, it can get a little spooky. It could be quite heavily drug induced. It could be warfare, aviation, things with technology, um, natural disasters, tornadoes, um, especially coming off the ocean, um, because Pisces is a water sign. This could be like floods, rains, water related issues, drinking water recalls, fish recalls, thunderstorms. Remember, Uranus is electric, um, misty, spooky situations, both weather-wise and like feeling foggy. But even plane crashes due to misty weather conditions. You know what I thought about when I was doing this is what's the Bermuda Triangle? I'd be surprised if we hear stuff like that. Because Pisces can be spooky in the way, or misty, foggy in the way of like one area being cloudy. Everywhere else, it's sunny as hell. Like, what is that? Some kind of portal? I was actually even thinking about calling this Pisces full moon eclipse a tear in the atmosphere. Like when Doctor Strange, um, what was that, the multiverse, when the tear in the sky happened. I know you guys are probably like, here goes Keish and her crazy. I'm just saying that's what it's like. But metaphorically, what that was really about, if he was going through an awakening, if you watch that movie, it was a tear in time. It opened up a portal. Um, and it was an opening where you were again super open to what's coming from outer space or other dimensions, other timelines. And throughout that whole entire movie, different series of things happened to him. And at the end, his third eye opened, right? Go watch the movie. I'm not making this shit up. I think this is going to be a massive worldwide awakening. I think this shit is going to be so dope. Um, And a lot of people aren't even going to know it. It's going to feel like a blessing in disguise, literally, however that shows up for you, good or bad. You're going to have a story to tell, but I digress. So this could be like plane crashes due to misty, foggy conditions. I definitely think we're going to have a cold summer. I've been talking to people over the last few years about how summers have been great. We have never really had any snow. I think that shit ends this year. Pisces is a winter sign, right? I'm not making that up. Yeah, it's a winter sign. It's associated with the colds. And I do think that we're gonna get snow, actual real snow this time. Although with Uranus here, there could be some, fooling around with the weather system here, but we'll see. It did cool down quite quickly this summer. I don't think I've ever experienced it. It happened like mid-August. I was really shocked about that. It usually stays a lot warmer, at least until like mid-September. I wonder if anybody else agrees with that, but whatever. And so this could definitely be viruses in another pandemic, but smaller or only limited to specific areas. But this could be, viruses, pandemics, lies about viruses and pandemics just to keep people in fear. But I also think it's going to be viruses and pandemics and food, right? Uranus and Taurus, Taurus rules food. Um, but it could also be like diseases, like different kind of diseases, sexual and just, regular diseases. Yeah. Misinformation, confusion, and lies in politics, mental health crisis, drilling accidents, oil rig accidents. I think BRICS is gonna grow. I thought I heard another country had been added to BRICS, but I can't really remember. That's, not really of interest. So, but, there could be a war. This could definitely be like more remote learning and more remote work. Um, we can definitely hear, I've been seeing a lot more commercials with like new pharmacy stuff. I don't know if it's new necessarily, but you know, it, just pharmaceuticals in general. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like the pharmacy commercials have been the most commercials ever than I've ever remembered before, which, is interesting. But there could be, big topics about that. Fentanyl has definitely been a really big issue that needs to be addressed. Borders and drug dealers. There could be a lot of documentaries on this. Definitely we'll see some stuff about submarines, export and import issues. It could be nuclear war, especially once Neptune moves into Aries, but we'll see. And then there could be some sustainable energy things coming in here, or inflation. But yeah, so we have to consider all that as we're, going through this Pisces eclipse. But yeah, Pisces is a mutable water sign. It lives in the 12th house. Um, Mutable energy, again, is flexible. It's malleable, it's naive, it's easy to influence through the subconscious specifically, but doesn't always have to be that way. Um, yeah, I feel like I could say so much more about that, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Because it's a water sign, it rules emotions, crying, ocean, and things related to the ocean, rain. And Pisces rules dreams, sleep, uh, your subconscious mind. Um, it could also be, again, signs, symbols, synchronicities, daydreaming, um, loss, lack of direction, um, lack of clarity. Um, again, the fogginess, misty, whether or just mentally forgetful, um, or lazy, even like uninterested in living life or being a part of life or being a part of reality. Um, Drugs, addictions, health, mental health, anything to do with mental health, or hospitals, mental health institutions, prisons, mental prisons, um, and anything that goes along with that. When it rules Hollywood, right? Um, so we're definitely going to see a lot more movies around these things. So this is like sci-fi documentaries, scary movies, um, that kind of, play on these very spiritual practices, but makes them evil or demonic. Um, oh, they're all really good movies, though I hate to admit it, but I feel like even music can change with Uranus. This could be like techno or R&B techno, right? We're talking about Pisces here. Pisces is very romantic, sensitive, and emotional, compassionate. So there could be a lot of this could be some reggae. I could see this being some reggae. Um, I feel like Uranus is way more up tempo though, so I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see over time. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but imagination, creativity, video games, filmology, photography, your feet. So this could be clothing wise, leggings, because it's the mermaid, or shoes, sneakers of all kinds. Maybe specifically water shoes, but I think shoes of all kinds. Um, Spirituality, faith, being idealist, the underprivileged, um, deception, the dissolving of something, or things that happen behind the scenes, kind of detaching from the physical, just being super uninterested with living. So this could really relate to a lot of suicides. I don't really like to say that, but people can feel like it's not worth living anymore. But on the same token, we're talking about 25 degrees of Aries, where there's a martyr, somebody who um, wants to play God, if you will, or thinks they can save everybody. Um, on the other hand, to that, it could be people thinking that somebody is coming to save them, and that's not going to happen. Um, and so there could be some devastating realizations like, damn, they're really not going to do nothing. No, but I think the idea is to help people see that you can do it yourself, right? And there's a lot of other things out here in the world that might make us believe that we can't. And so you have to fight through that, which is the dark night of the soul process. And so you might be knocked off your throne here a little bit, um, in a very, very bad way, but or a very emotional way, where it kind of hurts your feelings, or you're disappointed about something that you thought was going to be fucking awesome. But, going through that realization puts you through a mental process of learning how to not trust people without some kind of proof fact, or, like I always talk about when it comes to Scorpio energy, being indebted to others, meaning you're going to have to do better at vetting people and holding them accountable for the things that they say they're going to do, or even why they want to do them. I think in this way, that's going to get very messy. So people learn that, you're in a relationship with somebody thinking that they really cared about you, but really they just wanted your money, you know, or your fame, or projecting. We got to talk about that. It's just so many things out there, but we'll get into all that. Maybe not. And so again, sign, symbol, synchronicity, seeing things in threes, the tween worlds, the veil is thin. Manifestations are going to be fucking crazy. Even to people who don't even care about this stuff. Like you're going to say something, and that something is going to show up. Whether it plays out fully or not. This is just, God, spirit, whoever you believe in, your higher power, is really showing you like be malleable to the energy, you know, claim your godhood in this world and whatever that skill is that you have and create your reality. Believe it. And so you are going to see things that are going to make you think you're fucking nuts. You do nothing with it, whatever. For the people who start to see it and start to believe it, you're going to start second guessing or questioning yourself like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And it could get real spooky, but especially for those people who don't believe or they want to believe, but they've never had enough proof. You're gonna get it now. And it's gonna be like, yo, something's going on here. But what is it? Take it a step further, go deeper, do the research, follow up with it. And over time, you'll see those things. What it's trying to teach you. And this is evolving you spiritually to, again, trust the process. Trust that when you ask, you get answers. Trust that when you do the work and you heal, you get support. Believe in that process. And then you have the dissolving of anything related to the past. Escapism is going to be a big theme. And so you might want to escape from the world to deal with emotional healing, healing from the past. You could be doing some past life regression, hypnosis, meditation, going to retreats, even subconscious healing. Um, this is also the process from one life to another. So literally, like whenever I do a reading and I'm talking about the North and South Node, I always say the North and South Node is the South Node specifically is a past life, who or what you were in a past life, and or from the time you were born until the time that, your future, which is your North Node, right? And so this is a depiction of that. And it could be different for everybody on how that's being played out. This could be past life, different timelines. We might even see a lot of movies about that. I think we're going to also see a lot of movies about AI and more like, what was that doll's name, that recent movie about the doll they did? When she was dancing in the fucking hallway. I think we're gonna see a lot more stuff like that, movies like that rather. Um, but artificial intelligence, I think, is gonna be a huge theme in creating life. I do feel like this is another play on um control, if you will. Um, I'll talk about that another time, but it's tricky. This could be somebody or people being afraid to be alone. But essentially, this is teaching us to rise above the illusion of separation. And so, in order for you to know that or believe that, you have to go through a process. You have to do the dark night of the soul. You have to do the healing work to even believe that, because then once you get on that journey, it's going to be about being firm, again, staying grounded enough in the fact that you know who you are and you step away from the ego enough to be in separation with others, like cuppeth runneth over. Pisces can be so compassionate and helping and supportive and want to give to others, but like going back to the projecting conversation, in order to have that conversation, you really have to begin to understand what projection actually is. And there's like 10,000 definitions of it. And I'm being dramatic, but go do your research. The original thought of projecting is to be able to project your energy out to somebody else. This is why Pisces also rules Reiki. If anybody knows what Reiki is, it's the ability to heal with your hands through a distance, right? You don't have to be anywhere near that person, but you can send out loving, healing vibes through something called Reiki. That is a projection, right? And then you project in your dreams. That's called astral projection, right? And then, you know what I was thinking about? I was like, how can I explain this to people so that we don't have just this one narrow-minded perspective of projecting? And I was thinking about the movie with the vampires. Oh my God. Of course I can't remember the name. Why would I be able to remember the name? Oh my God. It was with Bella. You guys know who I'm talking about. When Bella became a vampire, her superpower as a vampire was projecting. She was able to um project her energy out, and it would protect anybody who, you know, she loved and cared about. But I loved the way they depicted that ability to project her energy. She had to like, and you could see the soul spreading over to all her people so that they wouldn't, you know, be affected in the war that they never had, by the way. Such a Pisces awesome theme, by the way. Uh, but it's your ability to project your energy onto other people, good or bad. Okay, you have the choice to do what you want. And most people, by the way, don't even know that they're doing that. They have absolutely no idea. Some people do it intentionally, and that would be the lower expression of Pisces, is to enforce your beliefs, morals, and values onto other, or to assume that people have the same morals, values, and beliefs as you do, right? Um, but you know, um, essentially from a spiritual perspective, this is where tarot readers will say stuff like, even astrology, there's some implications there, but you are projecting. But tarot readers will say, when they're doing general readings, to hit the like button or leave a comment so that your energy is being picked up through that process, and it will probably resonate more when you engage. When you don't, otherwise, this is why they say tarot responsibly, because you could be picking up a storyline and it's not it's just not. It might not have anything to do with you, and you could be easily influenced to make a decision or believe something that is not true when you don't do the spiritual things right and correctly. And this is where projecting becomes a danger, you know, and you really, really, really have to do the work. Um, and a lot of people aren't doing that. And so, you know, it's going back to that martyr energy where somebody else believes that your life or your perception is better than theirs. And when it comes to projecting, which makes this dangerous, is that people want to become you. Now we're talking about uh, uh, you know, soul switching, or is it contract switching, or destiny swapping? That's what it's called. You know, where somebody is um psychically intuitive, knowingly or unknowingly, that so much so to the fact that they want to become you, be you, identity theft, um, assuming one's role. And it even gets crazy. I did some research because The information out there was just so freaking vague. It pissed me off, but because I wanted to give people a link, but because Pisces is so related to mental health, there's even a psychosis where this becomes dangerous, and you'll see things like they have movies on this. Um, it's narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder, where people want to like become you so much so to the extent that they might start dressing like you, talking like you, um, you know. And I would just go look up narcissistic behavior or those things that I mentioned, because personality disorder, because Jupiter is in Gemini. And I've told people about this because Gemini are two people, and Gemini rules children. And this is on a very basic human innocent level how we learn, right? And going back to that idea of learning from your environment and the people who are around you, um, in your immediate environment, you are naturally going to copy somebody. Let's just be real about that. This is how we learn. Um, and when you're talking about overcoming the fact that there really is no separation, you have to be intuitively in tuned to the 10th and third degree in order to do that responsibly, because otherwise it becomes all these other things, right? Which is why we have all these name calling out here, and the things that I've talked about on this channel in the past before. um Nobody likes each other, we can't get along, you know. We're not learning when we're doing that. We are also blocking our blessings when we do that. You're not going to learn something just from being by yourself. You will consume information, whether it's from the third or fifth dimension, okay, whether it's psychically or intuitively, you know, you're getting information from somewhere, right? And so it's a thin line between love and hate in that way. It's an extremely thin line, but obviously when it becomes a problem, when somebody thinks they're better than you, meanwhile they learned everything from you, and it becomes a disdain, a hate. Um, you can't look at yourself in the mirror anymore. Um, you know, it's scary. It could really feel like somebody's crawling in your skin. To super psychic, sensitive people, you'll know exactly what I'm talking. Not everybody experiences this, but I think it's a conversation worth having because I'm telling you right now, you're going to feel this, whether it's with an actual person or these are like ghost stories where you feel like somebody's fucking watching you, a stalker, or like having a girlfriend or boyfriend who is watching you. And you can feel it, whether you can see them or not. We're talking about Pisces here. It feels, right? You can feel like somebody's watching you. You feel somebody tampering in your energy. Um, or they just get really weird. It's just a weird feeling. Which is why psychics have, or tarot readers or astrologers and people in the spiritual realm, they'll use these like little trinkets and things to block out people's ability to project on them, and even to make sure that the messages are coming through clear and concise, and they're not overthinking it or being super dramatic or making things seem as though they're not. It's a very thin line, and you have to be strong enough to know the difference to be able to do those types of things. Um, you know. Pisces energy that way can get really, really weird. Where this is like where somebody wants to wear your shirt or your underclothes, or they really, really idealize you or admire you to the point where it can be a little creepy. It could just be a little creepy. And so, trust me, you're going to feel this in some way. It could even be a family member. We're talking about Gemini, or identity theft, or, things of that nature. And so, in order to get past this illusion of separation, you have to do the work so that you don't look crazy, right? Because outside of that, projecting on the positive end is a dope ass ability. You are a psychic, like, just period. But there are things that you have to do to strengthen that skill. Um, yeah. And so this could also be dreams, the subconscious mind. You can feel like you're in a state of dreaming all the time, and this is going to affect everybody. Again, you can constantly feel tired, forgetful, lazy, lost in a trance. Um, again, questioning if you've seen what you just saw, doing the triple take, not seeing things clearly. Um, spooky experiences that I've already talked about, like seeing ghosts or apparitions. I hope I'm saying that right. Right. Like sometimes when you're looking at the peripheral of your eye, you see something, especially for people who wear glasses, and it might reflect off of the light or something like that, and you see like a dark shadow pass by, or your lights flicker, or something moves, or you hear something in another room. Like, this is ghostly stuff here. Somebody could be trying to get in touch with you from the other side. You're gonna have to make the discernment on your own. I don't mean to laugh, but I think it's freaking funny. Because a lot of people are gonna be fucking tripping. You're gonna feel like you're on drugs. But I think it's gonna be awesome overall. It's just teaching you are a lot more than who you think you are. Um, and that's a beautiful thing on the other side of that, to know that, you're not as uh, common, I'll say, as society sells us to be. Like, we're not superhuman. Yes, fuck, you are. We all have the ability, whether we are all awakened to it, open to it, or otherwise, that's a personal issue. But that does not mean that it's true for everybody, right? So I think that's the point I'm trying to make, or the Pisces energy is trying to make, because I'm not making anything. I'm genuinely just reading how this stuff can be playing out, which I love this stuff. So, again, things hidden, the things that we do when we're by ourselves or behind closed doors, living a lie, all these things will become visible. I was reading I think I was on LinkedIn. I just so happened to be, looking at a notification that I got, and it was like, if I can remember, it said, being the person who you say you are all the time, even behind closed doors, is called integrity. This is going to be very real for a lot of people, right? Because living a lie can be just the same as identity theft, and the conversation I just had about projecting and trying to keep up with the Joneses, and uh, like what happened to Drake. Despite the fact that I really have a problem with the way that whole thing went down, I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel a little uncomfortable, even though it was a necessary evil that Kendrick Lamar ousted Drake the way that he did. He pretty much ruined his whole career. But the bigger picture and conversation about what he did was you don't poke the bear when you know you're not who you think you are. But that's also what the society and the industry does to people is it makes them think that there's something that they're not. And this is intentional so that they can get on television and in front of people and sell you a lie that you believe. And I don't mean you specifically, I'm speaking in generally, so that people believe that this lifestyle is real. And so I think Hollywood is getting ready to have another downfall like that. Drake was just an example, but I think it's going to get bigger with Pluto back in Capricorn. And then we're going through Scorpio season. Oh, the stories that are going to come out are going to be absolutely disgusting, but in the best way. Like, this is not me talking about folks. I think for our children's sakes, right? Because they're the ones who are most influenced by these things, it's going to be fucking phenomenal. Like, they need a wake up call because they really think this shit's real. Have you ever tried having a conversation with your child about somebody famous that they like? They swear up and down that they know shut up. um, yeah, they need the wake up call. But be careful because when you do stuff like that, um, it shatters people's realities, and so we could see a lot more suicides and deaths, even like what do you call that when people cutting? Um, this can bring up a lot of mental issues because their reality's been shattered. Now they have to create a new one. And it's like, what do I believe now? Who do I believe now? You can feel like you don't know who to trust, or where to go for information or who to look up to, which is why I feel like um, Neptune moving into Aries is really going to challenge people around these idealistic beliefs that we have to be honest as a leader when we're in the public eye and how we present ourselves in a way that people can really look up to and it's solid and they can take that torch and pass that on, you know a truth, not a lie. Um, yeah, you know. So deception, lies, ghosting, fake profiles, fraud, scams, email scams, identity theft, all those kind of lower things those people are going to be they think they're going to be able to run. You got a whole year and some change with Pisces being, especially if it's true that there are only full moon Pisces eclipses. I'm telling you right now, you better start telling the truth now. I go repent. Is that what they call it? Get yourself some help because people are going to start seeing you for who you really are. Um, if you say you live your life a specific way, somehow, some way, it's going to become really, really clear whether you do or you don't, which I also think equates to tarot readers, astrologers, and spiritual leaders and leaders in general. I think there's going to be um, a massive, massive wake up call, you know, of things that come to light about people that you look up to or have some kind of respect for. And your whole reality is going to be shattered when you learn that it's not true. When people could just as easily get up here and say, hey, I'm not really rich. Hey, I'm not really, what you see here is just how things are done, right? Uh, it's decorative. It's made to look this way because, and the fucked up part about that people don't do that again. This is where these kind of illusions of separation come in, because people are like, damn, well, damn, I don't have that, or I can't afford that, or I can't do that. I think of all these TikToks and social media, the way people sell themselves. But for why? If you could just easily explain that process and tell somebody the truth, it eliminates the ability for people to hate you over time, which is just natural human behavior. That they see you as somebody who has something that they don't when it's not even real. Um, you know, I don't want to keep dwelling on that because I can literally talk about that shit all day. But it's also a lot of the reason why a lot of other people don't succeed. And it's not like it's your responsibility to help other people succeed, but like it's your responsibility to tell the truth and let people choose. At least don't lie, right? And have people thinking you're something that you're not, or something that's unattainable. It's your responsibility as a parent, as a leader, as a upstanding citizen, to do that, to tell the truth. Who the fuck are you showing for anyway? These could all be things that come up throughout this process for people to really ponder on. Um, Same thing with the dreamy romantic, idealist, mystical fantasy, um, confusing, distorted ideologies that we have about love. Good God. I don't even want to have that conversation. But you know, same difference. Something within this is going to be shattered. I think I talked about my mom. Um, and that's one reason why, despite my mom's situation and how she kind of um, lost herself over the years, or she sacrificed for her children, that era of women that I think women today we despise. Like, why would you give up your life for a man who treats you like crap, children who are fucking disrespectful, excuse my French, right? Because not everybody's situation is like such, but you know, I think a lot of us have seen our parents do some wild things and be in relationships for 20 or 30 years. And we've decided, I'm not going to do that. However, again, there's a thin line. There are going to be some things about people, the person that you decide to be in a relationship with, that you're just not going to like. Period. There is no maybe, ifs, ands, um, half and half, 30%. Definitely, right? Because we're all our own people. We all have gone through something, and whether we've healed from it or not, we have our own minds. And love is typically what keeps us uh, stuck to being with somebody, regardless of the things that they suck at. Again, it's an illusion of separation. That we feel like somehow if we say, I'm not loving that person because of all these kind of socio-economic things, like they don't have a job, we're really going to have to sit down and question that, whether it's worth it or not. Um, we got a lot of breaking down to do around that, you know? Um, That's what relationships are about, unfortunately. Again, it's a very thin line. I'm not saying let somebody abuse you, or you don't um, feel wanted or needed, or any of the negative things you can think of that somebody has did to you that has made you think, I'm not dealing with that. There are going to be times when you experience that. People go through things. It's just a part of life. So you telling me you're not going to be in a loving relationship because people go through things? Um, and you shouldn't, right? Essentially. But as long as that person is willing and able, that's a different story. Um, Even bigger problem is that none of us are taking care of those issues, and it leaves us at an impasse. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's a sticky situation. If you listen to people who've been in relationships for 30 years, they've gone through hell and back, literally. But they decided to stick through it, and they love each other, they support each other, they've learned from each other. Um, I really can say so much more about that, but honestly, it breaks my heart to talk about where we're at with that, myself included. I'm not excluding myself. It's just the more I learn, the more I'm like, you know? And then we have spirituality, faith, cults, organized religion, even religious art, um, letting go of the ego to get closer to God or your spirit or your soul, doing the healing work, learning to be alone and fill your own cup. These things are going to be super, super important. And then we have the underprivileged, again, hospice, um, hospitals, mental health institutions, prisons, mental prisons, jail. And that's going to be another really big topic. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking about the Saturn and Pisces energy can be like veterans, and how they kind of come over with psychosis, that whole process of becoming disillusioned is like they've had some traumatic experience. They come back, they can't really deal with reality. They don't know where they fit in. They don't feel like they fit in. At any minute, they can be triggered and shoot somebody or kill them with their bare hands. And over time, from a lack of not being able to heal, they start doing drugs. Drugs turns into mental health, and mental health infused with the drugs becomes like um, somebody reaching the point to where they can't tell whether something's real or fake. But everybody's gonna have this kind of feeling in some way. Again, being forgetful, being forgetting, um, being forgetful, um, um, things feeling disoriented, needing sleep or space, um, or spaced out, daydreaming even for um, even for the people who are particularly strong. Um, I even think that we feel this is a part of the process that comes with work and being in the workplace for so many years. I know that might sound crazy, but trauma is real, especially working in those particular fields. I've noticed now more than ever over the last year that people, again, we're becoming super malleable, influenced even from being in those fields where people's energy is taxed, it's shotted out, burnt out, unhappy from seeing the same fucking shit over and over again. And where's the real solutions to these things? You telling me we've gotten to 20, 30 years and still nobody knows? Like, what the fuck, man? People are tired. They don't want to work with these people anymore. They don't want to work in these fields. And it's not because of the work that they do or don't do. It's the lack of solution and there being like a better outcome for these people. Now, obviously, not all people experience that, but again, it's still going back to the same idea. You can be in the same environment, and now you've got mental health issues, or you start to feel like you're in jail or prison or a mental prison, and you can't tell real from fake, or you want to be the martyr. You're like, I can save you. I can take you away from here. You've heard those stories about prison guards or other prison workers, like, the nurses and such, trying to break people out of jail. It's a psychosis. Yeah. Whether or not that person had some mental health issues before, I don't know. I've never really ever heard of that being a thing, but I know, speaking from personal experience, that ideology is very real and the possibility is very real. You know, when you go in to help somebody and you think you're doing helping work and you don't see a result, it is very daunting. It's daunting and it weighs on your energy heavy. And so again, we have to learn how to be more compassionate without giving off all of ourselves to the point where we don't know who we are anymore. And I think that's probably the biggest goal that we'll be asked to do. And in order to do that, you have to go through the healing process. You just do. I feel like I can say so much more about this. I love Pisces energy, Scorpio energy. I could talk about all day because I think it's the most fun. But yeah, as usual, family, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.